much. We see them so much compared to all other dog breeds. It's German Shepherds, Cockers, including Cockapoos, and Frenchies. And there's reasons for all three. But the thing is, with German Shepherds, which is why it's different, is that once they're past basically a year, especially 2+, they become almost impossible to work with, which is why you get people searching for German Shepherd trainers or German Shepherd police handler or whatever, because these people know, how to handle them, because most trainers are not going to be able to, even, normal trainers are not going to be able to handle these dogs. They are difficult. The normal stuff isn't going to work with them. And if it is going to work with them, it's going to take such a long time. Now, I'm not saying I don't like them. There are a lot of, I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of bad qualities to a German Shepherd, really, but it doesn't mean I don't like them. It just means that you kind of have to change a bit in order to suit them. German Shepherds often fall into two categories, really, a bit like collies. They either teach themselves or they're psychotic. Now, it might be a bit extreme, but basically that's what they fall into. I'll give you an example. A collie's exactly the same, and this is why some people can kind of fall into the boat of thinking that they might be an easy dog to train, or very trainable or whatever, because they might have had a shepherd that was very trainable. Somebody phoned me up. She's on her second German Shepherd, and the first one, it was her first dog, and she could do things like she'd go to a shop and the dog would just sit outside without a lead. She'd gone all the way to town without a lead, and it would just sit there, not go off with anyone, not do a thing, and it would just sit and wait. And it just taught itself. I swear to God, some of these dogs are like that. They teach themselves. It is definitely not skill of the person. And some collies are like this as well. So if you're like this, where you had a really good dog and now you've got a really crazy dog, it is just this. You're kind of lulled into that false sense of security with these dogs. But normal German Shepherds, they are hard, they're naturally reactive, they're often quite nervous, which makes a dog reactive, nerves really, and they're really, really barky. The reason for this is because they weren't originally like this, right? So Shepherd herding dog, yeah? So the original dog, they did have a slope back. It was nowhere near the slope that we're seeing now. And it was because they did this trot. So if you ever go on YouTube, check it out. It's really interesting. There's a guy with an original German Shepherd, and he's using it for his sheep. And it just makes like an invisible fence. And all it does all day long is do this mad trotting in lines. So it's not like a collie, which just kind of waits and looks and then goes in and, nips the feet and goes round and round and round madly. It stays on these borders pretty much. It just trots obsessively backwards and forwards, which is why, German Shepherds are relatively high energy even now, because that's what they came from. They were a relatively quiet dog because barking spooks sheep, so they don't want any of that, and they're confident as well. So quite different to what we're seeing now. Somewhere along the line, the police got hold of German Shepherds, and that really changed the breed quite a lot. Also, obviously, the show line started really sloping their back. But what we've ended up with is kind of quite a wary, nervous police dog instead of a herding dog. And to be honest, neither of those fit as family dog. Okay, so you've got to bear that in mind. They're not like that. They do need to work. They do need rules. But yeah, police, they basically kind of want a noisy dog, that's wary of strangers and quite kind of nippy. And because of the size of the German Shepherds, when you get nipped by them, it's quite, it's quite a nip. Put it like that, it is quite a nip. So yeah, so that's kind of why they're like what they are, and you've got to be right there on top of them to redirect that as soon as you see it. So some of the worst shepherds I've seen, well, the worst one I saw, he was actually from abroad. They imported him, so it's from a proper breeder and everything. So I was really shocked he was like this. It was 4 months, so he was still really fluffy and adorable. And I walked in, he was barking and barking, and he was just barking his own. He was just sitting there barking. It was so loud, and they were quite strict. They said he's not allowed upstairs. He's not allowed on the sofas, and bless them. And instead of enforcing a rule, they just put all of their stuff on the sofas, so no one can use the sofas. I thought that's fair enough. It's good to see that you're strict. But this dog was right over the top. So first thing we do, basically, if dogs are barking, we put a lead on them. It really calms them down. It just helps with that direct line to you, and you can start using body language as well. As soon as you put a lead on, the dog can't escape, and you can redirect, blah blah blah. So I go for the lead on. Now he's running away, he's running, he's barking, and stuff like that. Now no one can get a lead on him. He's still barking. So he ran down the corridor, just shut the door. It's like, stop it. I'm just going to shut the door on you there. Opened the door, told him no quite firmly when I went to get him, and then suddenly his bark changed from just barking because he's being annoying to barking in that really ferocious German Shepherd bark, like he really means it. And then the owner said, "This is what he's doing outside." And I thought, wow, this is a huge problem. When dogs are young, they're like Play-Doh. They're very, very easy to mould. And if you're struggling with a puppy now, don't think it will get easier. It won't. Their habits change very, very quickly. Everything's easy now. If you leave it until they're 2, it's like working with Play-Doh that's been left in the sun. It's really hard with these dogs. So I knew they had their work cut out with them. So we went outside, and yes, he was barking, but after, they're 2-hour sessions, so we were outside for an hour or an hour and a half, got the long line out, had him running, got him listening, with treats and all that, and then started redirecting him. And we had to be quite quick, as soon as he looked at something, we called him, distracted him, gave him a treat. We had to be quick with it, but we did very well, and I was really pleased with him. And he kind of dropped that silly barking, I'm nervous, I'm ferocious, pretending kind of thing pretty quick. So I was quite happy, but I was like, look, you've got to do this. You've got to be strict. Your timing's got to be ace. That lead has to be loose, because that was a big trigger for him. As soon as the lead went tight, again, like police dog, right? He just went off on one. So you've got to use a loose lead. This is where people can kind of be like, oh, but the dog's pulling. How can it be loose? Well, you stand there, you stand in front of the dog to make the dog release the lead. You cannot be kind of moving around. The dog can't be pulling at all. If your dog's reactive, you've got to sort out pulling first. You can't have a loose lead, and your dog won't respond to the lead either. So if you kind of use that leader to kind of move them, they're not receptive to it because they're already pulling on it. So, but yeah, within a couple of weeks, they phoned me like, it's just kind of too hard. So I think they sent him to boarding in the end. They would have needed a lot of sessions, even for a puppy that small. But that's a shame, because what happens with them, it's great they give warning, right? This is kind of why the XL bullies are getting in trouble at the moment, is they don't give warning. German Shepherds that bite, usually it takes over a year to get to that stage, to be honest. So you see the barking, which you should stop right there and then, but people don't. And then you get the lunging, and then you get a nip, and then you get a bite. So actually they do take a long time to get to a bite, but they will most likely get there. From my experience with XL bullies, they go straight to a bite if you've annoyed them. They don't growl, they don't bark, they don't do anything. They just bite, and they can bite really hard. So that's why they're in trouble, just a little FYI. But German Shepherds, yeah, so it's the barking that you've got to stop. Now, I've spoken to breeders, like proper breeders, not backyard breeders of German Shepherds, and they are really strict with their puppies and their owners. They go to them, do not allow this dog in the furniture. Do not allow this dog upstairs. This dog is never allowed on the bed. And to be honest, when we see these dogs with problems, we say exactly the same thing. We say it with most dogs that have problems anyway. It's structure. This dog is not a lap dog. This dog is generally not a great family dog either. They need that structure, the discipline, the rules. It's I say you do. And if they don't, if they kind of, even with this dog, I noticed that even standing still, right, he'd take one step. So I pushed him back every single time. Because he was small, I could use the lead. Usually with big dogs, I kind of stand in front of them and shuffle into them. So you're kind of making the dog walk backwards. But it's every single time, and that made a huge difference for him. If he takes a step and then another step, he won't listen. That's what they're like. If you let them take 2 steps, that's it. You're done. You might as well just give up there, and then you've got to kind of reset after that. So a lot of what we do is kind of make the owners aware of where the dog is kind of winning these points and kind of breaking rules, if you like, in dog language. So we have to get a very strict mentality with these dogs, and it has to start from when they're really young, because when they're older, they don't listen. We see a lot of German Shepherds between 1 and 2, and as soon as they go outdoors on a walk, they disassociate. So the problem we've been called in for is dog aggression usually. But as soon as we walk out the front door, the dog is gone mentally. He's leaning on that lead. He's looking around. He's mega alert. And guess what? He's not listening. And guess what? That's where we have to start. We do not start when we see a dog. We start we start before we leave. This is what I mean. The rules is where we start. The next thing is, are we leaving the house correctly? Often with these dogs, we leave 20 times. It's like, you did that wrong again, did that wrong again. There's treats involved as well. There's never any punishment, but we just do it again and again and again until the dog gets bored and the dog's body language changes from alert, crazy, I'm on a mission, to I'm bored of this, I'm calm. Actually, the most interesting thing is you and your chicken, Tilly. So I'm going to start engaging with you, that eye contact, that yes, I can work. And the thing is, when you do get these dogs, and you do have to be very kind of bargey with them, lots of treats, but lots of you got to do as you're told. They love it. They really engage. They're like, oh, yeah, this is my new mission now. We're a team and we can do it. I've got a video of Bear, the Shepsky. She was a classic example of this. It took a lot of work to get through to her because they are the stubbornness. Stubborn basically means that they don't change their minds. That's what it means when they say a breed is stubborn. They don't change their minds. The difficulty with these dogs is because they're very quick to react, but they're very quick to react to the environment and not you. Whereas a collie's quick to react, but they're not actually stubborn. They're quick to react to you as well, but shepherds aren't. They're going to do their own thing. So you have to do it again and again and again and again until they realise that they're not going out on this kind of crazy eyes on stalks, ears up, panting already. They're not going to do that anymore. We're just working at the front door. And then when they realise that, they engage with you. And if you are kind of interesting enough, if you like, then they will stay engaged. But you have to be responding to them. As soon as you notice they leave your bubble, like the eyes are going elsewhere, the foot is moving forwards, then you got to get them back engaged. Hey, come here. Oh, what's this? What's this? Oh, yeah, come on. You have to kind of bring them back all the time, every single second. And it can take a long time because you have to do it that much. And this is why people kind of seek out, police dog handlers and stuff like that. But I will warn you, if you do that, a lot of these are using prongs and e-collars a lot, because to get quick results with this dog, that's the kind of thing you need. This is why I'm talking a lot about kind of like argy-bargy and strict rules indoors. If you don't want to do that, if you're like, I like the dog sleeping in my bed actually, and it sounds like it takes a really long time, Tilly, and I just don't have time and it sounds really boring, then go and find a trainer with an e-collar or a prong collar and have it hug the hell out of your dog until it listens. It probably will work, but that's your choice. I don't like them, I've never used them, I've never needed them. We still get results with these dogs and we don't use any of that, but we are strict. Do not think that positive training means that we don't let dogs get away with everything, and we don't use a firm voice. We do use a firm voice, especially with these guys. These guys are like army dogs. You have to treat them like the army. They get, you can get cuddles and stuff like that as well, but you need more of that than the cuddles. Multi-poos and, cavaliers and that kind of thing are more, cuddly. You can get away with more. You can't get away with this type of dog. And if you're listening to this thinking my dog has a problem at any age, then you need to get really strict with that dog. It doesn't mean shouting, being cruel, depriving, but it does mean reacting to your dog. So for instance, if your dog's barking, even indoors, you've got to stop that immediately. Stop it with redirecting, that's fine. We're not stopping it with like beating, but it needs stopping straight away so the dog learns to listen to you in that scenario. It's like post, bark, bark, no, come here. If they don't come here, get a lead on. Come on, come here, in your bed, have a treat. So they realise, oh, actually, post means that we're doing this together. We're a team. What's my human doing? Oh, okay, they're telling me to come over there. Doing nothing or even shouting. Shouting often to dogs sounds like you're joining in anyway. It's like, yeah, we're all being loud now. I'm sure that postman will go away if we're loud enough. If we're all loud together, you've got to move. Dogs use movement, space, body pressure. That's all their language, right? So kind of getting in front of your dog and directing them away is what another dog would do, and that's what they listen to. So that's the way we do stuff. And really, puppies is the best thing because they're experimenting, if you like, a bit like kids, experimenting with their voice. So I was on a walk the other day with Mum's mental Labrador Chuck and Flicker, and a little puppy was coming towards us, and it was looking really worried. It's a narrow path, you literally can't avoid it. I obviously put my dogs on one side because I am very good at anticipating stuff. So puppy, I'm anticipating a lunge. Flicker with a lunge will absolutely lose the plot. Kind of backed off and started barking, right? So he started barking, and I was watching the owner, kind of expecting them to do something. Um, it was an older guy, so he probably just wasn't that with it anyway. But they did nothing. They just did nothing. Dog barked, and I thought, oh my God, in 18 months, your dog is going to be out of control. So much so that people stop walking it, so much so that people give them away or put them down. This is where he should be starting. And all it takes is that you can say a firm no, or you can just say, what's this? And distract them and give them a treat, and then know when they look back. But you have to stop it. It doesn't matter how you stop it. I mean, I prefer it in a positive way, like I've just described. But you have to. If you let that, it won't just stay like that. He won't be suddenly a year old and be still barking. He'll be lunging by then, because dogs' personalities go up and down all the way until 2 years old. They don't settle until they're 2. So problem behaviours usually get worse until they're 2. It doesn't matter if it's anxiety or aggression or barking. It won't settle until it's 2. So you've got to get in there early while the dog doesn't have the habit, and really look at the root cause. So often the root cause for older dogs is kind of long forgotten, and it is just a habit. But for a dog like that, he's nervous. He should have kind of listened to the backing away and stopped him there rather than pulling him deeper. He should have stepped off the path, given him some space, put him behind him so he feels safe. Dogs in front is the natural guard position, by the way. And then got him to focus on himself. Got him to focus on him so he's not going to bark, so he can watch the dogs pass him at a safe difference that the dog is comfortable with, while receiving loads and loads of chicken and praise for doing the right thing. And so that when he sees a dog, he knows what to do, and he knows that it's going to be a safe situation that his owner can cope with. That's really what needs to happen. As an adult dog, it's very similar. For a dog that's lunging and barking, it's along those guidelines, but you're going to have to use a lot more force, right? Physical handling, because the dog is strong, so you're going to have to get in front of the dog and probably like pull it behind a tree or something dramatic. But it's about that. It's about registering. It's about working the distance. Where is my dog reacting? Reacting is staring. Okay, reacting isn't lunging and barking. That's too far. You can't really work with that. You've made a mistake. Try again. Reacting is really when the dog is kind of watching and concerned about what's happening, but is still able to listen to you. If they can't listen to you, again, you've gone too far, reset, turn away, start again. It could be really, really far at first, and then you get closer and closer, but that's all you want. You want the dog looking at the dog on the horizon, and then looking at you and getting a treat, and then looking again, looking at you, and back and forth until they get bored of the dog and they realise that actually you are more interesting. It's obviously a safe situation. He doesn't have to get involved. They very much are naturally kind of step in, like, oh, you're not doing anything, I'll step in. Again, this is what XL bullies do, right? And a lot of kind of guardian breeds do this. It's like, something's gone wrong, I'm stepping in. So you need to be there, and it helps from doing it at an early age to say, no, I'm stepping in actually. I don't need your help. You can be behind me, sit there quietly, you can get loads of chicken and praise, but you cannot move forwards. At least you cannot move forwards with the wrong body language. I want soft, calm body language for moving forward. I don't want kind of alert, pricked, whale eyes, looking nervous, tail rigid, stiffness, tension. I don't want any of that. That can't move forward. That's not good. That means that they're not coping well with it. Even overexcitement, by the way. I don't like dogs moving forward with overexcitement either. It's still the wrong body language. Calm, relaxed, passive. That moves forward. Anything else doesn't get to move forward. I don't care if the puppy's like really tiny, excited. It's not right. That's not the right body language. That's not how you greet dogs. You've got to learn to be calm about it. So this is why I did this podcast, really, just to help people kind of understand that you've got to get in early with these dogs, and you've really got to put your work in. And even if you've got a dog that you have sorted out, so say 4 months old puppy, within 6 months it's not barking, just be aware that it is going to kind of go up and down until they're 2. They've got hormones coming in and out and all kind of things like that. So be aware that it's not just done and dusted by 6, 8 months, a year. It can all change. It's really 2 they settle down. So anything you're working on, even recall, you've really got to keep working pretty hard until that year, and then after that everything becomes a lot more set, which is why it's harder working with older dogs, because everything's a lot more set. If you've got your dog where you want it to, it's kind of, you've got an easy ride now. It's very unlikely that your dog will develop anything after that. It's so rare. Most of what we see, dogs are under 2, or if they're over 2, I ask, how long have you been doing this? And they say, oh, since he was about 6 months. And I say, great, that's great, because now it's going to take a lot longer to fix. But yeah, once they're 2, they're a lot more set in stone. Things are harder, and the good things, anything good just stays with them. So that's your benchmark. Get up to 2. If you don't worry too much, if you're thinking, God, my dog's 5, he's got a problem, it doesn't matter too much. You can still work with them, and it doesn't mean you have to do any different techniques. It probably means that you have to make sure that the dog's really food motivated, that your distances are really, really great, and that you're going to spend a lot more time, because it is going to take more time. But it's the same process. We never at a point say, this dog's really hard, to stick a prong on it and just start yanking the hell around, with it. We just do the same thing. Sometimes we modify it if the dog's got like a phobia or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Modify it slightly, but that's the basic thing. You want dog mildly reacting, turning to you, getting a reward, and staying ideally with the same dog, so they can kind of look back and forth for a few times. If they just see one new dog all the time, their reaction is always going to be quite great. So if you go to a park and there's a dog kind of walking kind of past at a distance, and you get to do this back and forth between kind of 5 and 20 times, they're a lot more relaxed by the 20th time. If it's like, oh, there's a new dog, I'm going to calm you down. Oh, there's another new dog, I'm going to calm you down. The dog isn't learning too much, because his first reaction will always be the biggest, not the next load of reactions. So try and go somewhere where, dogs aren't popping out from every bend. My best thing, which I've said before many times, is that you head to a dog park and you stay in the car park. Because car park, you're guaranteed dogs are in and out all the time, right? You don't want to go to a park and you're in the middle of nowhere and you can't find anyone. And also, they're going to be on leads. So no off-lead dog's going to come running up, because you're in a car park. So they're all going to be on leads, under control, so you can relax. And you've got the added benefit of there's cars to hide behind if your dog has lost the plot. So car parks is what I love. That's what I do. Ideally, you exercise the dog first, somewhere very, very quiet, get your long line out. Start zigzagging, stuff like that, get them connected, nice and tired, then that's what you would do. Let's head to a car park and do some work. But that's what you want to do. I know it's hard to visualise because it's a podcast. I have got videos on TikTok and stuff, you'd have to search through them. But yeah, it's fairly simple. It's just repetitory. And if it's too hard, if it's like, oh, it's not working, it's just probably because you're too close, or your dog's not tired enough, or your food intake isn't the gold. If you're feeding your dog raw and then you're trying to give them some dry old biscuits from the shop, it's probably not gonna go down too well. But those are your 3 points. It's tired dog, motivated dog, and is this easy enough for the dog? Seeing something to react to a couple of meters away for most dogs is quite hard. It's got to be distance work, lots of distance work. But that's it in a nutshell. Obviously, the other thing I've got to mention with German Shepherds is they do suffer with joint problems and things like that. So ideally, they wouldn't be. I mean, like I said, I don't like them on sofas or upstairs anyway, but they shouldn't be jumping on things like sofas and using stairs until they are at least a year, because of the hip problems. Same with labs. I've had people tell me, "I'll try and stop them." You can stop them, okay, with training. And if you don't want to train, just get a baby gate for stairs. They shouldn't be doing that. It will shorten your dog's life, and you've got to think future. You want your dog to live a long life, you've got to protect those joints until they're formed. And then use as many supplements as you can once they get older. But yeah, just be aware of that. And I don't like using backpacks with these guys as a rule of thumb, unless they're a cross, or unless I can see for myself that they haven't got that slope in their back, which is a shame, because these dogs they naturally would love a backpack and they love running, but you've got to protect those joints as well. You've got to be careful with them. So yeah, hope this has been informative. Thought it had to be done, just had to be done. They're a great dog. Once you get them on side, they are so good. They are just like little kind of torpedo mission dogs. They're proper adventure dogs. They're with you, they're connected. They are fantastic. You can tell them stuff that, they're almost human, they're so intelligent. But you have to get there early. You can't allow them to become stubborn on the wrong pieces of information, because they will just lock and load, baby. But yeah, a fantastic dog. Good luck with yours. Any problems, get a behaviourist in. We cover Essex and Kent. Ideally find one that doesn't use these things. They are not necessary, trust me.
If you're interested in more videos or stuff that I do, I am on TikTok. I usually put my TikTok videos also on Facebook and Instagram, so just search Fawn Dog for those. And the main website is fawndog1to1dogtraining.co.uk. Thanks for listening, guys.